everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today, I'm super excited. Our guest today is Jeremy Goodrich. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. I love the work you're doing. I love the podcast and just excited to share some insights with your listeners today.
Yay, thanks. And we're so excited too. And just to let our listeners know how we met you, Jeremy, is actually through the wonderful world of LinkedIn and networking. So it was through, I've seen you a lot because your podcast is phenomenal. You post about it often and so do others. But then through Yona's challenge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of our worlds collide. And so it was
Yeah.
wonderful. And I'm glad that we finally got to do this together because it's going to be great fun. So thank you.
Yeah. And I think, the social media and LinkedIn, like Yona's challenge there, where you have to post 10 days in a row is such a great example of just being forced to do something well, right? It's like, okay, I got to do this thing. I'm not going to be bad at it. Let's try and be the best we can at it and dig into it. So I'm glad we got to meet in that space. And I really love that challenge and appreciate a lot of things that he's done for our community.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the next one for sure. So before we dive into,
Your
amazing,
greatness.
the amazing Jeremy Goodrich, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family a little bit more about your background and like how you got into the world of real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my adult life as an elementary school teacher. I was a third and fourth grade teacher for 13 years. Absolutely loved it. Enjoyed every part of it. Enjoyed being a teacher, liked hanging out with kids. It just was like the right fit for me. And so over the course of that time, I met my wife and now business partner at Shine Insurance, Mackenzie. And I was really realizing that, and it's sort of unfortunate, but the scarcity of being a teacher just wasn't something that I could sustain anymore. Right. It was just like I was building up credit card debt and things of that nature, and money just wasn't there. And I was like, you know what, I can't do a whole life of this. I need to find something else. And so Mackenzie at the time was running her dad's insurance agency, and I was an elementary teacher. And the both of us just wanted to do something good for the world. We were like, okay, let's just move on and do something different. And we knew we had these connections. We actually thought about like starting a restaurant or some other things. And finally, it was like, you know what? Insurance is kind of ugly. It can be misogynistic. It can have just so many elements of it that are just, I guess, ugly is really the right word, right? And what if we came in and really tried to change the way people feel about insurance as best we can as two humans building a small business in the middle of the Midwest? And so we started Shine Insurance in 2013. And right from the start, I really got into real estate. It started with first-time home buyers. I was helping them out, recording YouTube videos, which my channel now has 14,000 subscribers.
Yay!
It's incredible.
So it started with first-time home buyers. Then it started with folks investing in single-family homes. And now I do a whole bunch around commercial real estate, multifamily, retail, office, and industrial. So that is the very quick version of the evolution of Jeremy as an adult human.
Wow. And that was a mouthful. So I really appreciate that you said that. Like the enunciation was perfection. So thank you.
I want to ask
Absolutely.
the burning question. Everybody's wondering, Jeremy, what kind of restaurant would you have started?
Oh, it would have been like a breakfast lunch thing. So sort of a little, there's a couple of spaces in the town we live in, Bloomington, that are kind of European in that they have neighborhoods around them and just little areas of openness and some businesses and restaurants and things like that. And there was particularly one space we were like, man, we could open at 5 a.m., close at 2 p.m.,
Love it.
be kind of a bakery breakfast into like organic lunch type of situation. We developed that idea pretty far until we had a couple of people who own restaurants be like, well, be prepared to invest your entire life from 3 a.m. till 4 p.m. every single day. And we were like, I don't think that's what we really want to do.
I like that though.
Maybe you can buy it and then you'll hire some people to do that for you. So, maybe in the future.
That's a possibility, but I love real estate now. So I'm hanging out in this space and
Right?
I think that's where I like to be.
I love that idea. I think if Susie and I owned a restaurant, that would be the restaurant we owned as well.
It would now. There you go. I didn't know that. I'm really a dinner person, but that's fine.
But you like brunches, like scones and things like that,
That's true.
Baking, coffee, egg things. It seems very light and, all about connecting community, connecting people, bringing folks together, which is a lot of what we do in this space too, but
Mhm.
we would have done it with food.
And food is good.
So
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
for the digression. I appreciate
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am curious, also, so like what I love that you said at the beginning is like bringing good into the world, because there's definitely not enough of that. Can you give us like a little glimpse of how one can like bring good in the world through insurance? Because a lot of people think of insurance as like, oh, I just want to get the cheapest quote and be done with it. But like, there's so much more that goes into it. I don't need you to like go into like what insurance is, but like, how are you able to bring good out in a place where people probably don't think there is good?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and a question that we continue to ask ourselves. I'll give you a few of the answers that we certainly feel and believe. And I think part of it has to do at its foundation with the definition of insurance. So if insurance didn't exist, the only people that could invest in real estate would be the most wealthy among us, because no one else would be capable of taking the risk, right? If I don't have millions of dollars to invest in an apartment complex, and if it burns down, I just don't have it anymore. If that was the case, if that was a situation, no one could invest in real estate except for the wealthiest among us. And so I think that basic leveling of the playing field is something that insurance does that we never give it credit for,
Yeah.
right? It like is truly leveling the playing field and giving people that can't take that much risk the opportunity to do it, because they're passing some of that on to someone else. So I think that base idea around insurance is really important before we start talking about companies and how all the things happen. Like, that is how insurance works. A bunch of people put their money in together, and then when something bad happens to someone else, we take out of that pot and take care of them. And that idea, I think, is lifting everyone. Part of our framework, the 9 action steps that I believe every real estate investor can take to succeed in the REI Clarity framework. One of my favorite ones is rise by lifting others,
Oh,
right? And if we're constantly trying to rise by lifting others, then it works really well, right? And I think that basic concept around insurance is the first one. As far as how we help others in other ways, one is having a workplace and an ethic behind our business that is diverse, that it looks towards attaining diversity, that looks towards leveling playing fields across the industry as much as we can, and certainly across our business. That's a big piece of it. And just trying to be multicultural, multidimensional, and addressing some of the things. I mean, when I walk into a room at an insurance conference full of, and fortunately, this isn't as bad as it was when I first started 8 years ago, but it's still pretty bad. You walk into a room full of all old white men. I mean, there's just no way around it, right? There's very few women. There's very few African-American members of the community, and we're trying to address that as best we can. So I think we're trying to lift others in that way by turning a mirror on the industry and saying, hey, look at what you're doing here. Look at who you are here. How can we address this? So those are some of the ways, just at a systemic level, that we're trying to address and rise by lifting others.
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, you made
This
my
is-
heart melt, actually. No, it's cool because like you're thinking beyond like a means for yourself. And, you know, like a lot of times, I mean, you were a teacher. So, I mean, who you are as a person speaks volumes as well. But like to be able to go into a new space and still like have that passion, I mean, still to even like lift others, because that's what teachers do, like is phenomenal, you know, because a lot of people can get out of teaching or do get out of teaching, unfortunately, because of the money, which also just makes my heart hurt because teachers
a
like
whole
literally are like,
conversation.
yeah, I was like, are the backbone of everything, right? Like without teachers, we would all just be developing countries. So yeah, whole different story. But like, I do love that. How did you come up with like the 9 steps for real estate investing clarity? Like how, or not even that. Well, I guess how did you come up with them, but how did you choose rise by lifting others as number 1?
So I think that, you know, the 9 steps are based on 3 pillars, which are very easy to say. It's clarity, connections, and implementation, right? So without going too far into depth, we can say, okay, that makes sense. So we get educated, we understand things, and then we get as many connections as we can with people in the industry doing things well. And then we have to actually do those things. Without actually taking action, we're never going to succeed in what we're doing. And then all the other things come underneath that, and rise by lifting others is part of implementation. So I think that coming up with how I think success works in real estate is really because I work with real estate investors every day. I see offering memorandums, I see deals, I see folks who are maybe doing it a way that I'm like, oh, I would never invest in that deal. And I see people who are like, I want to invest with them because I believe in their mission, I believe in their strategy, I believe in their business plan, and I want to be on board. And so I really built. Now, I'm a person, I don't have a ton of history as a real estate investor, right? I am a service provider to the industry first and foremost. And my experience is from a 10,000-foot view as I help people navigate these things and see how they do it, is really how I brought it up and how I came up with it.
Absolutely. So getting into the little weeds about going back to what you're saying you're a teacher and things like that, I want to draw some parallels here. And you also briefly mentioned your YouTube channel, which has like 14,000 subscribers, which is amazing. So we'll drop a link to your channel here briefly. But I want to draw two parallels between that, right? So you're a teacher, right? It sounds like something you love to do, but then you said you know it wasn't sustainable over a long period of time. Like it is a struggle, right? Like and because of the money is not there and stuff like that. So, but you still love teaching, right? So now you've taken what you've learned and love to do, teaching in elementary school and things like that. And now you've kind of transitioned that and you've kind of poured that out through a YouTube channel, which it sounds like, right? Because from what I understand from your YouTube channel is like you're explaining these very basic concepts or these complex concepts in a very basic manner, right? And so
100%.
that's incredible. So could you give our listeners like a little bit of glimpse about like what your YouTube channel is about and like what kind of things you dive into on there?
Yeah, so it's about really investing in and protecting real estate. So there's a pretty wide breadth there. A big number of the subscribers joined when I was doing the first time home buyer stuff. So I teach folks how to buy their first house, the 9 steps, another 9 steps. I don't know what it is about 9.
Oh, I was like, is there a coincidence?
Like, no, it's a total coincidence. But there are 9 steps in the home buying process. And so that's where a big bulk of the folks who follow us came from. And then the next one really is insurance stuff. I have a video called Is Insurance a Scam? Where I look at both sides of this conversation around insurance and don't make any assessment, but just say, hey, here's why I can see this side. Here's why I can see you could feel like it's kind of scammy,
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I see from the inside and why I think it absolutely isn't most of the time. Although there's arguments certainly for both sides. It's one of my biggest videos. And it's interesting because people want to attract to that idea because that's what insurance's sort of perspective is. So I think you have it right that for whatever reason, I'm able to describe things simply and just say, here's a question you were asking. Let's take 5 minutes and I'll answer it for you in a way that you'll remember. You'll have clarity about the topic and you'll be able to move on with your life, knowing the answer to the question. 97% of viewers on my channel are not subscribers of the channel. So a lot of people are just showing up for the answer to a question and rolling on with their life. And I feel like that's perfectly fine as well.
That's awesome. And it comes, there's a lot of things we said, like, I love teaching, I love giving back as well, Jeremy. So like we share a lot in common in that aspect for sure. But it does take a lot of time and like you're giving this stuff away for free, right? Because you just like me, like I love to give back and I love to be able to explain things in a simplistic manner, right?
Yeah.
So, because if you can help one person, that's all that really matters, right?
One of the things I've had to learn, and I think this comes from the idea, like moving from scarcity to abundance. And I think there's a lot of work to do on that around money, around many things. But as I moved from a teacher to an insurance advisor, I stayed in that scarcity place a little bit for a really long time. It's like, I just need to give, I just need to give, I just need to give, I just need to educate. And it took a little bit of time to say, you have a family, you have kids, you have other things you want to do in life besides just run a business. And you need to figure out a way to give and be able to make money off of that. And make sure that when you're giving, those two things align. Doesn't have to be every time, but make sure that when you're giving, those two things align, or you're giving on purpose. If I want to, help, we donate a lot of money to folks helping homeless in Bloomington, Indiana, where I live, and homeless scenarios across the Indiana. Like, that is something I'm choosing to do with the money I made. That's a different conversation than giving as a part of your business day or the time you spend at work. So it really took a shift of mindset to say, all right, how can I still be a teacher? How can I still help other people, but really not come from a scarcity mindset, come from an abundance mindset? Maybe those two things aren't as aligned as, but I think come from a space where you're making sure that your time is well spent on people who really can learn from you, want to learn from you, that you're rising up, and that it's profitable at the same time.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense with scarcity and abundance, because it has to do with time, right? Like, if I'm spending all this time doing it, will I still be able to get like the, returns from money and the returns from giving all at the same time? And that it's so true, because that's where I feel like a lot of people lose like their will to like serve beyond themselves, because of like, how can I still satisfy me? But like, by me, I mean like my means. Like, how can I get out of survival mode by doing this? And it's like, great that you could find that. But when you do that, like, I wish I could just explain how my heart feels right now. But like, when you go out of your way to do all the videos and to do all the podcasting, like, you also are not just educating others, but like, you educate yourself, because you learn new ways of explaining it. Because like, I could hear an example, but Michael could be like, I didn't understand that at all. And then you then learn a new way to explain it. And then you reach so many more people, because it keeps going off in different directions. And like, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah. And to make the opposite point of the one I made before, as you're listening, as you're talking, I'm thinking absolutely one of the things that fills my soul and fills my heart the most is comments on the YouTube channel where someone said, I had no idea how to do this. Now I feel like I can go out and do it myself. I really appreciate you helping me do that. Or I really felt like I was being screwed over by this scenario. And after watching this, I realized that I just didn't understand. Now, at least I know that the people involved are have my best interest in mind, or whatever. There's so many comments and so much feedback out there. And whether there's any money involved or not, the way it fills your soul is a really important part of all the stuff that we do.
Right. Because like, even beforehand, say the person who was like, oh, like, I didn't know how I felt about this, but now I know that I misunderstood. Like, to break that down more, like, there's a lot of negative energy that then is being held on by that individual, like all of that experience. It when we take something in and we're like, oh, I don't like that, but then we learn that we just misunderstood how it was supposed to be. It changes everything. Like, mood changes, like how you act around other people changes. So it's not just like, oh, I taught somebody else something new. I mean, that's me personally, like, I then change into like, oh my gosh, I feel way better. Like, you feel like uplifted. I mean, that makes me excited. I'm also a very happy, excited person.
Well, no, I mean, I think you get at the heart of this relationship with insurance too, is that when I go, like, if you go out and look at reviews of insurance companies, it's abysmal, right? Like, you go and look at State Farm or something, they've got like a 30% approval rating. But if you read the reviews, it's mostly folks who don't understand the legal contract they made with the company. And we may agree or disagree with how those are set up and whether they're clear or not. There's lots to talk about there, but in the bottom line, it really is about clarity, right? And what is covered, what isn't covered, how that's covered, how it's not covered. And most things that are problems are not an insurance company trying to screw you over or whatever. It is a misunderstanding of what you signed. Now, whether you should have signed that or whether that policy was worth it or not, different conversation. But that really is what it's about a lot of the time, is the misunderstanding around what that contract is.
Have you ever been in the position where like you turned away a client because like I don't want to say they weren't understanding, but like you could just tell that like the way you weren't explaining it, like it wasn't getting through. Does that question make sense? Like, because a lot of companies too will just take on clients. And then, I mean, how you see it's like, oh, well, their goals might have never aligned, but they never took the opportunity to even figure out if the goals did align.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough at this point to be able to say no a lot. So I think the biggest misalignment that I see is someone who rolls in and is getting a quote from me and wants to get a quote from 4 other people. And there's a real reason in commercial insurance in particular why that just is not a benefit. If you're bidding contractors, maybe that's a little bit different. But in insurance, bidding insurance agents against each other, it simply doesn't work. It doesn't get you what you really need. And it's showing that you don't want an advisor. You just want an insurance quote and you want to figure it out yourself. And so that also means you're the most likely to be unhappy and angry because you didn't need an advisor. You were trying to figure out something very complicated yourself, right? And so I do a fit call. I have sort of a process that our team goes through to make sure that if we choose to offer proposals and get into a relationship with folks, that they really see us as a part of the team, that they believe that we, one, have their best interests in mind, two, are going to find them the best quality coverage for the cheapest price, and three, may even want to have a drink sometime together and make a friendship that's deeper than just insurance. I also want to insure properties that I would invest in. That is a bottom line for me. If I'm not interested in if I look at it and I wouldn't invest in it, I'm not going to offer the insurance on it. So saying no is something I'm fortunate enough to be able to do. I know people earlier in their entrepreneurial journey, it's harder to say no. But we're certainly at a place now where I take on clients that I believe in, that I want to work with, and I want to be a part of their journey.
Yeah. And then now you also then grow at like the scale that's appropriate for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the best part is you're not taking every single thing that comes in the door. In fact, there was a period where I was just taking 4 new commercial real estate clients a month. And so if they all came in the first 5 days, then I was done with new clients until the next month. I've shifted the way I do it a little bit from there. But it made sense then too. I think as an entrepreneur, controlling your growth, making it scalable, and at the same time scaling at the pace that you want to scale at, if you can control it, is great, right? Sometimes, I mean, if you just have a bunch of great deals come across your desk and you're a commercial real estate investor, maybe you need to figure out how to invest in all 4 of them or something like that. But maybe not. Maybe you say, hey, I'm doing 4 this entire year. I'm going to take the best of these 4 right now, and I'm sure more are going to come across the desk tomorrow,
Yep. And then that, even to tie that back in, that's like scarcity versus abundance mindset. Really like that. I do. No, it's true. Because like, even when you can control it all, then nothing really gets out of control. So I know like we talked about this before, but like when you are growing too quickly and like 2 or 3 things like fall out of alignment, that's when you're like, oh, I'm suffocating. I don't know what to do. And then like your like mindset that you're in completely changes, right? Because it's all very reactive instead of proactive. It's like, okay, well, how can I fix everything? But while you're trying to fix all those things, then other things get forgotten about, So I don't think that's talked about enough, how like saying no and growing like at a scale that is appropriate for you works, because so many people will be like, okay, well, now I need to hire an assistant, but I don't have time to make videos to tell them what to do. So like, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And then they start to do it, but they haven't done it right. I don't know if I have enough time to check their work. It's like, go with the flow. It's like a really nice wave in Hawaii.
Yeah, I like that. I like that metaphor. Yeah, I think that how many service providers have you seen over your life where they were awesome when you got a referral and like, oh, this person is so good. And then you went to them for the service that they provide, and suddenly like your experience wasn't as good. And what you found out was they were really good at something that they did. And then all these people wanted to work with them and they collapsed, right? And it just happens. And I think the way to control that is a couple of things. For your listeners who are early in their journeys as entrepreneurs or real estate investors or wherever they're at, like systematizing from the very beginning, recording the things that you're doing, creating those checklists, creating those workflows, creating those standard operating procedures while you're the one doing them is really important, because that's the time, that's when you have the time to do it, right? And so then those things are in place as you scale and as you grow. So when you do, one of the hardest things we do as business owners is bringing new employees into the mix, because our idea is they're never going to be as good as us. which is a incorrect idea. I think success in business ownership and real estate is when you look around the room and you say, I'm not smarter than anyone here. And I love that. You know, I think that's what we're looking for. And the systems that you create underneath everything gives you the permission to teach other people how you do it. And then I would encourage you to take that next step of giving those folks permission to challenge the system you just taught them and escalate, elevate that system and make it better and better. And I think that's where you see real business growth, real success, and you start to see more time available because other people are doing these things even better than you had done them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I do too. Every time you say like a new sentence, I'm like, that can be a really cool quote. That's a really great quote. That's a really great quote. So thanks for that. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're doing that I'm big on is just like we've done what you're talking about, right? Like we've taken and we've actually put all of the stuff that we do, the tasks that we repetitively do over and over and over again, or maybe we do them once a month or whatever. And we put them in like a project management software tool, right? In our case, we use Asana just because it's something that we've started with, but there's other ones out there like Monday.com and Trello and things like that. We list out all the tasks that we do. And then we've been slowly going in there and making videos of how to do each one of the tasks, right? Like using Loom or some other kind of video, desktop recording software, which then puts it in a link. So you don't have to, edit any video, you can store it in there. And then we just hand that off, right? And then you can actually take it one step further. You can test it on your spouse or your business partner to see if the video you made is actually complete, right? If there's any questions or any, things that need clarity, if you will. So yeah.
A spouse is always a good one to tell you that. But yeah, I mean, a VA team is going to be really, really good at telling you that too. Because if like we have 4 VAs that are a part of our system, right? And a lot of the things that I do and how quickly we do it couldn't happen if we didn't hand it off to them and they did it, and that's all about systems in place. I did not have my spouse check that system out. I don't think she would have loved that process, but it really is. It comes down to standard operating procedures. And I think the best time to do it is at the beginning when you're mapping it out for yourself too.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. So unfortunately, Jeremy, I'd love to chat with you some more. And I'm glad that we're friends and we can chat whenever. Our adventurous family is wondering, they want to know the answers to these 4 questions that we ask everybody. So these are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests. So the first question we have for you, Jeremy, is where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
So you're going to like this answer because Billy Keels as well.
Yeah.
But Billy Keels is a good friend of mine, a real estate investor who really I love. And he lives in Barcelona right now. I don't know for how, well, we'll see how long. But, I have always wanted to go to a Clásico, which is a soccer game between Real Madrid and Barca, which are sort of the 2 biggest Spanish teams. So I would love to go to Barcelona and see my friend Billy Keels, and we go to a Clásico football game together.
I love that.
I do too.
That's awesome. Billy, yeah, Billy's amazing. So.
And then we'll come up and see you all.
It'll be like a European. To you.
Let's come to you.
This weather's nicer.
Okay. Yeah, we can all go to a Clásico together. Right? Billy says he can get some tickets, so I'm going to hold him to that.
Wow.
Yeah, and now that it's on the podcast, it's out there. It's out there. Yeah.
Hey, Bill, you need to listen to Jeremy's podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Signed you up for something.
Yeah. Cool.
Absolutely.
Then the second question is, what is the number one thing on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
So real estate investing, my goal is to be able to have $10,000 of passive income from real estate within the next 3 years. I'm just starting that journey. So that's a big goal, especially as a passive investor, as you all know. And the bucket list really is to have time freedom and to be able to decide for myself what I want to do with my day. We figured that obviously $10K a month is $120,000 a year. We feel like that's an acceptable amount of money to be able to make and give us that freedom to decide what we want to do. And so the first thing I will do is our biggest bucket list. I got engaged on the island of Corfu in Greece.
Yeah.
And so we would like to go back there and spend a little bit more time there, relaxing in Corfu and celebrating our successes.
That's phenomenal. I really like that. I was actually looking at that island like a couple days ago. So now when I come to actually get to go there, I'm going to reach out to you because most people would not know. You think of Greece, everyone's like Athens, Santorini, Corfu.
It's like completely around the other side. Yeah, it's not in the Adriatic, it's in the Aegean or whatever the island. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. It is. That's cool. I like that.
That's cool. So the third question
is I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate, Jeremy, since you're going through the journey now?
I think, and this is what I'm doing, on our podcast, we talk to so many people and I hear this in repetition in the books I've read. It's about the operator. And so the biggest piece of advice I could give is vet the operator first and the property and the market second, right? Like you've got to know that you're working with someone that you believe in, you trust, and has a history of succeeding at business plans in whatever asset class they are offering you an opportunity to invest in. And I think everything else beyond that is slightly less important. Not that you don't want to underwrite the property or the fund or whatever it is you're investing in. But I think the operator is really key. And my biggest piece of advice is that you focus on that.
I love that.
Yeah, that is great advice. Sure. Thank you.
Before we move to the fourth question, I do want to inject something real quick. I think I heard that you're doing like a whole LP, so limited partner like investment thing on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, the thing I was going to do was investing my first 20K. Like I was going to do a 25K investment, what the entire process was like, and I didn't do it.
Oh.
Sorry.
it was just like, I was going to, talk on microphone with my wife as we talked about the different asset classes and different opportunities. And in the end, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to invest in commercial real estate in a syndication that was I knew my operators and I was kind of like, okay, well, I could do a series on this, but it would just be fake because I really already know what I want to do. And so I decided not to do that.
No, I love that. But how you figured that out though was through education. So just even for everyone, right? It's not just like, oh, I think this is a great idea. Like
no, absolutely. Yeah. Brian Burke's book, Hunter Thompson's book, I think listening to a lot of podcasts like you all's, there's just so much education to be had. And then you build that community, you build those connections, and then you have to implement your strategy.
Absolutely. So then the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
It's interesting. I just listened to a podcast about climate change. I probably would have, I want to go down that road and I probably will, but it was a little disheartening, honestly. Some of the research that just happened around climate change and how much we can truly do. But I think that would really be it. Like impacting our country in particular, the United States in my case, and like where are the places that we can help with climate change, that we can address fossil fuels, that we can help in whatever way we can. Because I just think that's about the next generation. It's about right now, obviously. But I think the impact is going to continue to get bigger. And so I don't have the answers really. Like I don't have some magic way to stop fossil fuels or, stop coal burning plants or whatever. Like I'm one dude in the middle of the Midwest. But I think if there were unlimited resources, that would be one of the things I would focus on primarily.
I love that.
I do too. Great. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. So before we go, Jeremy, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family how they can get a hold of you?
Not at all. So shineinsurance.com is the way to find out about us when it comes to insurance. REIClarity.com is the way to find out about our podcast, and our YouTube channel. You could search Shine Insurance and you'll find everything there.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you reach out to Jeremy on LinkedIn and connect with them, make sure that you say, hey, I heard I heard you on the Adventures of Real Estate Investor podcast. Love to connect. So
Absolutely.
you will
Absolutely.
accept, that will be the only way he'll accept your connection.
Right. That's the key word. It's the password.
That's
Yeah,
the password. to
I
the
like
gate.
it. I like it. I do. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's truly been a pleasure. And I just can't wait till the next time we get to chat again, because it's also always just like, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I appreciate the work you all are doing. I know that you have huge hearts and huge souls, and I love kind of seeing that pour out in the mix with real estate investing. I think there's a real energy around a group of real estate investors right now, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thanks so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate it. So until next time, explore more. Adventure awaits.
Woo!